Hey everyone, this is Thomas with Bentwood Ring Supplies, and we're back with another video showing you how I made our new ring, Riverbank. It's a titanium river channel ring blank with sand and a blue central inlay. First things first, we are going to be painting our channel with white acrylic paint. Most of you know I like to use acrylic paint for this process, and that's because it's easy to apply and it works so well. I'm just being liberal here with it and cleaning up the outside of the ring before we add our pure white quartz sand inlay material. You can get sand from just about anywhere, so when you're making or marketing this ring to your audience, you can use sand provided by your clients. I've just poured it liberally over the still wet paint and will let it fully dry, or use a heat source to encourage it to dry faster. After it's dry, I'm using one of our inlay adjuster sticks to scrape away a bit of the paint and sand from the channel walls. I want those clear for when we put our clear finish in later. Once I'm happy with the results of this process, I'm adding thin CA to lock the material in place. I've moved over to my wood lathe and mounted the ring on one of our silicon ring mandrels. I'm double checking that I've removed enough material from the walls of the channel and addressing a few more areas with my diamond pointed wood turning tool. This is super handy if you have one, just be careful not to scratch the outside surface of the ring. What we're going to do next is remove all of the material that we can from the center of this ring. I'm going to show you a few ways to do this, and you should do what you're most comfortable with. Your first option is a file. Be very careful here and make sure your ring is spinning true. If it's not, then you could have less than desirable results, and we don't want to damage the blank. Start on a low speed and just let the file do its work. Move it left to right gently until you've removed all the material you can from the center, or if you want a thinner channel, you can stop whenever you're satisfied. Check routinely so you know what your progress looks like. This next option for cutting the channel out is to use my diamond-shaped carbide wood turning tool. This is extremely effective, but you should be very careful not to apply too much pressure. A catch here could cause some serious issues. I'm being as gentle as possible and not trying to cut where the tool doesn't want to go. Continue in the way you're most comfortable with, and when you're done, it's time to start on our second inlay. Alright, here we are back on our mandrel stand. I prefer to do these operations here so that any material that falls from the ring is caught in the boat and we can recover it. I'm carefully painting the channel we just cut with blue acrylic paint, and while it's still wet, I'm going to apply some of our blue inlay material. I was supposed to use lapis lazuli, but I grabbed the closest blue inlay material and got all the way through this build before I even realized I had gotten the wrong one. I ended up using some of our crushed synthetic opal. I'm using a small crush and just letting it stick to the area I painted. And once the paint is dry beneath the inlay, I'm adding some thin CA to fully adhere it. And then while that's still wet, I'm adding a little bit more opal to make sure that we have a nice dense inlay. After this, I'm adding just a few speckles of our crushed obsidian. If I had to do this again though, I would have added the obsidian first. I feel like this would have worked better for our river design and given us a few more deep water areas. Now that our inlay is done, I have to face the music and go knock down all the high spots I should have definitely not let happen while I was adding our inlay material in the first place. These non-standard channels that we have can't be cut down on a lathe like a traditional channel can be. Well, the center of this one can be, but that's beside the point. I'm using a variety of tools. I'm just going over the ring a little at a time, using the light behind the top of the ring to see if there are any high spots I need to address before we add our finish coat. Spoiler alert, there's a lot of them. You can use a file. I have a pointed tool that looks like I broke a pair of tweezers in half, and I'm bringing the carbide wood turning tool into the mix as well. Some diligence while I was inlaying this ring would have saved me quite a lot of time here, but I can't stress enough the importance of having a hermetically sealed inlay. Any sort of perforation of our clear coat is going to be a point of failure later. After I've cleared all the high spots, I'm addressing some areas where I dug the inlay back out. I just add some of our blue inlay material back in and give it some thin CA. Once that's cured, I'm doing a flood coat just to make certain that everything remaining in the channel is permanently adhered. Now that the hard part is over and I've corrected all of the high spots in this ring, I've moved over to our slow speed ring turner. This unit rotates at a whopping 5 RPM and lets me add very thin layers of our clear coat. I'm using thin CA. I always speed these parts of the video up significantly because there can be a few minutes between each application. The most important thing here is that you don't add too much. If a drop appears on the bottom of the ring, it must be removed, and don't use too much activator. These three things will help ensure that your finish is as clear as possible and bubble-free. Keep in mind that the speed this video shows is accelerated by about 10 times, so the slow speed ring turner looks a lot faster than it actually is. Every new section we get to, I want to say that it's the most important thing, but it's not. Each of these processes is equally important to achieving a brilliant final product. They each deserve all of your attention. And so that brings us to sanding and polishing, our final step, a part of every video that feels so repetitive, but we can't just leave it out. I start sanding with an appropriately aggressive grit of sandpaper, depending on how much CA we have on the ring. If today I put more applications than was really necessary, I might be more inclined to start with 120 grit. But if I only added enough to take the CA just barely proud of the ring, I could probably start with 320 or even 400 grit. You be the judge. In this case, I started with 120 grit and worked my way through 240, 320, and 400. I try to make sure that my 400 grit sandpaper is the one that takes the CA to fully flush with the metal. This ensures that we have the thickest possible finish inside the channel. We don't want to remove much of the finish beyond this point. The next step is using Zona polishing paper. I'm taking my time with the green Zona paper here. It's about 600 grit equivalent, and its primary purpose is to remove all of the scratches left behind by the 400 grit sandpaper. If you find that there are still deeper scratches left behind after using the green paper, then you can spot sand manually and then spin it back up for another round of regular sanding. Repeat until your surface is scratch-free. It should look like a matte finish at this point. Once you've achieved this surface, you can work through the remaining Zona paper, stopping at 22,000 grit equivalent. Now this is a great finish, and you could stop here. Nobody would judge you. But I like to take it a step further and use the last two grades of our 10-step diamond polishing paste. To me, this takes the entire ring to the next level. Finally, and there are many ways of doing this as well, but what works for me is using a rotary tool with a wool buffing wheel to polish the edges and inside of the ring. I put some of our diamond polish on the wool, and I'm using it to just polish the inside of the ring by rotating it around the inside gently. After the inside looks awesome, I'll lay the ring down on a clean paper towel and gently grasp my fingers around the outside. Using the rotary tool, I'm just very gently placing the tool, the wool, down on the edge and letting it spin the ring in a circle, thereby polishing the edges. This technique is super easy once you get the hang of it, but I'd recommend practicing to get the feel of it first. Since it's oil-based, I like to use isopropyl alcohol to make sure all of it is completely off of the ring. Just wipe it down gently, and we're done. That's it. This ring took me about 1 hour to make and has made a fine addition to my collection. If you liked watching this content, please click the subscribe button. And if you want to join us in making this ring and others, check us out at bentwoodringsupplies.com. Finally, thank you all for your support. I'll see you in the next one.